The room went silent before the judge even finished the sentence. You could hear someone inhale sharply in the back row. Cameras leaned forward like predators sensing blood. Everyone expected resistance, anger, maybe a protest. Instead, she stood there calm, shoulders squared, eyes forward, a black general. Decades of service stitched into her posture. And in front of everyone, she was being ordered to remove the medal she earned the hard way. Not quietly, not privately, but on record, on camera. In that moment, it felt less like a courtroom and more like a warning to anyone watching. Her fingers moved with precision, the same discipline drilled into her through years of command. The clasp released with a faint metallic click that echoed louder than the judge's voice ever could. As she lowered the medal into her palm, memories hit her like a flood. Dust-filled nights overseas. Names she never spoke out loud. Letters she wrote to families who would never get their loved ones back. Every scratch on that medal meant something, and now it was being reduced to a prop in someone else's performance. The judge avoided eye contact. He spoke about procedure, decorum, regulations. Big words to justify a small moment of cruelty. The gallery shifted uncomfortably. Some faces showed satisfaction. Others looked away, unsure if they were witnessing justice or something uglier. She placed the medal on the table slowly, deliberately, as if daring the room to understand what was really happening. No trembling hands, no cracked voice, just silence. That silence did more damage than any outburst ever could. Outside the courthouse, the narrative was already forming. Clips were chopped, headlines sharpened, context erased. Social feeds exploded with opinions from people who had never worn a uniform or followed an order that cost them sleep for years. Commentators called it discipline. Others called it accountability. No one called it humiliation, even though that's exactly what it was designed to be. By nightfall, her name was trending, stripped of nuance and packed into outrage-friendly sound bites. Inside her home, the noise stopped. No cameras, no judges, just the weight of what had happened settling into her bones. She took off her jacket and stared at the empty spot on her chest where the medal had rested for years. That space felt colder than she expected. She understood then that this wasn't about one courtroom or one decision. It was about control, about reminding her that no matter how high she rose, someone could still try to put her back in her place. Yet, beneath the anger and exhaustion, something else stirred: clarity. For the first time in years, she wasn't thinking like a general or an officer or a symbol. She was thinking like a woman who had given everything and was finally seeing the system clearly. The order had been carried out, the medal was off, but the real consequences were only just beginning. By the next morning, the damage was already spreading faster than any official statement could contain. Her superiors released carefully worded lines about professionalism and respect for the court, each sentence polished until it said nothing at all. Behind closed doors, calls were being made. Meetings were scheduled without her name on the agenda. Doors that once opened with a nod now stayed shut. The order to remove the medal had been public, but the consequences were unfolding quietly. Where reputations are actually dismantled, she reported to headquarters as usual. Same time, same uniform, same steady walk down the corridor. The atmosphere had changed. Conversations stopped when she passed. Officers who once sought her advice suddenly remembered urgent appointments elsewhere. No one confronted her directly. They didn't have to. Silence can be sharper than accusation. By midday, she was summoned into a conference room she hadn't seen in years. Legal counsel present. Notes already prepared. Decisions, she realized, had been made before she ever sat down. They spoke about optics, about trust, about how her presence had become complicated. An official cleared his throat and said the words that mattered most, almost apologetically. Early retirement, a dignified exit, a way to move on without further attention. It was framed as mercy, as protection, as if the system was doing her a favor by pushing her out the side door. She listened without interrupting, eyes steady, hands folded. When they finished, she asked a single question. Had questioned her service before that courtroom moment. One answered. News outlets picked up the next phase quickly. Anonymous sources claimed concerns had existed for years. Old decisions were re-examined with hostile curiosity. Stories were rewritten to fit a new angle. She had gone from decorated leader to controversial figure in under 48 hours. The medal was never mentioned again. Neither were the missions that succeeded because she made the hard calls others avoided. The narrative didn't need facts anymore. Needed closure. And she was the easiest way to get it. At home, she finally allowed herself to sit still. Not to grieve the job, but to grieve the belief she once held. That excellence would protect her, that loyalty would be returned, that rules applied the same way to everyone who followed them. She thought of younger officers watching all of this unfold. Watching what happens when you stand tall but don't fit comfortably into the picture others prefer. Thought hurt more than losing her rank ever could. Weeks later, the official announcement came. Retirement accepted. Service acknowledged. Words were flat, drained of meaning. Her career, the one she built piece by piece over decades, was reduced to a paragraph. But something unexpected followed. Messages. Ones at first. From soldiers she had commanded. Families she had helped. Officers who said they stayed in because of her example. They didn't mention the judge or the medal. They thanked her for teaching them what leadership actually looked like. She placed the medal back into its case that evening. Not because the court had returned it, but because she chose to reclaim what it represented. Honor, she understood now, doesn't live on a ribbon or in a ruling. It lives in what remains after everything else is taken away. Her career had been damaged, her title erased, but the attempt to diminish her had done something else entirely. It exposed a system that feared her strength more than it valued her service. And that truth, once seen, could not be unseen.